Just over a year ago, we bought a vineyard in Bordeaux with the dream of making artisanal terroir-driven wines that were incredible quality. So if you've been following the channel, you'll know that we've just passed the 1 year mark as owners of the vineyard. When we took over the vines, they'd been abandoned for 2 years, so we had a massive job on our hand. I think what we're going to do today is have a look back over all of our videos from last year. We'll give you a bit of behind the scenes insight into what was going on, what we were thinking, what our thought process was, and at the same time we'll also give you our unfiltered views. So overall, I think we're really happy with how 2025 went. Where we got to at the end of the year was exactly where we wanted to be. We put a huge amount of effort in. It was blood, sweat and tears at times, and I'm sure we'll go into some of that. But the journey still isn't over. So as we said in our video a couple of weeks ago, there's still plenty of things for us to do, plenty of things for us to work on this year. But I think it's fair to say we're pretty happy of where we're up to at this point. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Let's have a look roughly 1 year ago in Bordeaux in the southwest of France, where things started and how they unfolded from there. So I actually remember this car journey really vividly. It's the first shot on our first ever video. We bought a vineyard in Bordeaux, and I remember the anticipation with Laura in the car as we were driving to the vines. It's not quite like buying a house. It's not like you do a couple of visits and then you put an offer in. The vineyards, we knew them pretty well. Then we'd done a lot of studies on them. We'd really thought about things. But this was our first trip officially as owners. The previous owner had done a bit of work for us to cut some of the grass. We'd had a little bit of work done on it to get ahead of the 8 ball as well. So this was kind of our first time traveling to the vines and seeing them starting to go in the direction that we wanted to. So yeah, full of excitement and really, really nervous. I think the thing that strikes me about this is that my memory was being so excited and full of energy to go and see the vines. I think that comes through, but I honestly feel I was quite clear-headed in some of the thinking here. I hadn't realized that in this video I'd gone into the challenges that we were going to face, all of the work that we had to do, all of the different pressures that we were about to tackle head on. It seems like actually I was more or less expecting some of the difficulties that did arise. So yeah, that's a bit of a surprise, but it's probably quite a good sign that we were going into this eyes wide open. So one of the things that you can see here straight away is that even though we've done a little bit of groundwork to clear some of the grass, you can just see how thick, dense and lush that grass is. The vines don't look like that at all anymore. They're in much, much better shape with much less grass pressure, but it's really interesting to see it like that. It looks so thick and dense. We've done an incredible job to get on top of that. But yeah, overall, I think, in this video, it was pretty clear about where we were going. I think we knew that at the time. We had a pretty strong indication of what we wanted to do, why we were buying the vines, what condition they were in. But it's kind of good to look back over it and to really see that come through to the fore. Right then, video 2. So this was, I think, similar time, maybe day after or something like that. So winter time 2025 again. And this time it's soil and terroir. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is foundational. Honestly, this is just so important. And, we knew this from the start. It's part of our identity. And I also think something that's historically so entwined with Bordeaux's history, the terroir, the soil, the vineyards. It was what interested us so much about these parcels. I think they're really unique. And I think this is, us trying to go into a little bit of detail around that, these wonderful fine soils, some of it with the limestone, some of it more with the sort of sand and gravel, some of it with deeper clays. But yeah, I think, the great thing about this video is that it really shows our DNA. The deep history of Bordeaux is all about vineyards and amazing vineyards where grapes grow, and the chateaux that grew around them. And that's really what drove us to buy these vines. So yeah, I think it's so cool that we did this video seconds, that we were so on top of this from the start. It's something that we carry through till now. And to be honest, I wouldn't really disagree with anything I was saying. I think it all still holds true. I think we have a little bit of a better understanding now. I think we have a slightly better understanding of a few things now. I think one of them is the age of the vines. So the age of the vines on La Morelle, some of them 30 plus years, some of them 25, something like that, really come into play a lot, as well as the soil. And the other thing is actually the exposition of Les Valades. Les Valades, you know, it's on the top of a plateau. I hadn't quite realized how much of a sun trap it would be. The trees that sort of surround it almost like an amphitheater, and the winds that blows across in this sort of 180-degree sunlight that you get all day really struck me last year, and it really came out in the wine. You got this real solar character, but other than that, I think, you know, bang on and spot on with this one. Right then, video number 3, vineyard owner talking about the work there is to do this year. Similar time of year, this is middle of winter, I can tell, because the pruning hasn't been done and, you know, vineyard pretty much looks the same. Let's get into it then. Oh, Jesus. God. Yeah, now we're getting into the problems. This is where we're getting into the real stuff, things to do this year. The shot that, you know, we've got just there of the all of the pruning that's left to be done, the grass that's all over the place, just all of the different branches and bits of wood going off in different directions. We're really coming from a long way away. So yeah, I mean, it's good to get a reminder of where we started. This is the real nitty gritty. Yeah, this is an interesting one. We talked a lot about the pruning and the grass. It's even come through in other videos, but this is actually quite a cool shot showing just even stuff like the trellising. Trellising was absolutely all over the shop. Parts of it, we had to basically redo it entirely. So that's all the wires that hold the growth of the vine over the season. To be honest, we're still kind of doing this. There's bits that we just kind of patched that were good enough for a year, that now, you know, need more investment. As a general rule in vineyards, it's perfectly normal to be doing this a lot. But yeah, I mean, this was in really bad shape. So it's good that we got on top of it from the start. It's so foundational to be able to kind of work freely, effectively, especially with our approaches whereby, you know, we're generally using quite old school mechanical methods for things. We're not, you know, using chemicals and products as much. So trellising, you know, keeps your rows nice and good order. It keeps your spacing good. It allows for airflow, all these types of things. It's just one of those foundational things that needs to be in place. So next video, we've moved on a little bit, probably early spring now, looking at the pruning. Last year we got a team to do the pruning for us. You saw how much wood there was. It's just way too much work for us. So we got a team in to do it, a bit more effective. And so, yeah, let's get into it. Wow, this was a really cool shot. So not only can we see how far back the vine has been pruned, you know, how neat and tidy that is now compared to before. You know, really solid example, perfect basis to support the growth from the season, you know, which in the end I think was quite good for us, but also the sap flow. So at this point, as I was saying, it's early spring, so the vine, as temperatures are heating a bit, starts to reactivate itself after winter dormancy, and the sap comes from the roots and it starts going into the wood. And at the end, where you've made the cuts, you get these what they call like tears, and that's the sap literally reaching the end of the wood and coming out on the where you made the cuts. So yeah, it's super cool. That's nature in action. That's you know, positive sign. The vine's getting starting the engine for the season. Yeah, and this here is a cool example of, you know, the things where we can improve the situation, but we can't deal with all of the problems. So this vine is a bit of a mess. No one would tell you to prune that way, but when you've had vines growing wild for 2 years, you know, what do you expect? You end up with stuff like this. It's still perfectly good, you know, and you know, it may still be alive. I don't know the vine personally, but you know what? You've got to adapt, and sometimes you deal with these more artistic cases. So next video, still in spring, solving major problems at the start of the summer season. I know what this one's about. Let's get into it. Let's have a look. So before we go into the obvious, and the reason for the video and the main talking point, I mean, the first thing to say is I look at that and actually we've done a huge amount of work to get on top of the grass, and it's so cool to see all of the buds shooting in the first leaves on the vines there. You compare that to the video, which must have only been like a month before, maybe 6 weeks before, when we first arrived, and all of the grass that was growing all over the place. And now, you know, things are looking a little bit bare there, but that's because of the water. But we're really starting to kind of get on top of all of that, you know, excess kind of strangulation of grass around the vines, and starting to turn the top of the soil over a little bit and tidy things up. So yeah, despite the obvious, it's actually quite cool to see the change in even like, you know, a month, just that first month. Right, so I think this video is possibly low-key one of the most insightful ones that we have. You know, maybe not the most technical, or yeah, I don't know, the most kind of thought out. You know, it's quite like reactive. But you know, I've only had a vineyard a year, but what I'm learning is 50% of the time is you know, planning, being really on top of things, thinking carefully about where you're going, executing, you know, really, you know, commitment and that type of thing, and you know, being strategic. The other half of it is just dealing with problems that you just wouldn't even, you know, have ever thought about or imagined. The context for this was we had 80 millimeters of rain, which by the way is a huge amount in 2 days. Right at the start of the growing season, flooded the bottom of the parcels where there'd been some compaction because of all of the you know, grass growth that I'd been telling you about, and it meant we couldn't get a tractor in to do a treatment to save the harvest from mildew, and there was a massive mildew risk. Basically, it was going to start raining again in 2 days' time, so we had to come up with solutions, and we were able to do so and react quickly. But yeah, this just gets repeated, and it's something that's going to happen every year. Maybe not this, something else will happen, and you just need to react, and you need to find the way through, and just keep things moving. So a little insight, that quad bike there, pretty cheeky, nifty solution actually, and I think we're going to keep that and keep hold of that for future years to come. You know, this is the type of thing that can happen in an Atlantic climate. We're already thinking of other use cases as well, but yeah. Quad bike, you know, I like it. Yeah, so next video, probably a little bit more nuts and bolts again. As I was saying previously, probably didn't do enough on just the general sort of tidiness, the trellising, the things like that, all of the problems you get from abandoning a vineyard. This is a cool video from that perspective. You know, even just this massive pile of branches which have been obliterated by the energy company to stay away from their overhead cables. They were causing a little bit of a problem in terms of the turning circle for the tractor, just enough to be a headache. So yeah, it's just another one of those things, tidied it up, chopped it down into firewood and a bit for compost as well. It's always nice to keep things on the vines and to reuse them, especially when they can have a benefit. But yeah, pretty, you know, one of those boring things, but you've got to do it. So this is definitively May time. So the essential task for insane quality grapes, it's the épombrage, or the debudding, I think it's called in English. I don't even know the English word. But yeah, very cool video. So my overwhelming memory from this was that it was a stunning weather, and that we spent, you know, a few weeks breaking our back over this, literally breaking our back, and doing it with so much care and attention. For context, most people, in particular commercial growers, aren't really going to do this, or they're going to do it very lightly in a kind of mechanical way that, you know, is, to be honest, just suboptimal. But it's one of those really, really old school, ancient things that you do with the vine to really maximize the quality of the grapes. I just think it's foundational. It's so important. It's one of those, you know, ancient historic things that, you know, honestly, I think if you're not doing this, you're never going to get the outcomes that you need. It's really laborious, really, really, really sore on the back. It's a really skilled job as well, knowing exactly what to remove, what to leave, understanding the flow of sap in the plant, things like that. But yeah, honestly, this is something for us. We're going to do this every year. Committed to it, you have to. You know, with the ambition that we have, these are the things that make the difference. If you want to make incredible wines that taste, you know, of the place they were grown, you need to be doubling down and committing 100% to things like this. So yeah, so foundational, so important. Probably do another video on this year, I think, actually. But yeah, we were lucky with the weather. It's not always weather like that either. Right then, hailstorm. We're in June. I remember we're in June. It was the hailstorm that got us and the neighbour and basically no one else. Yeah, we got so unlucky. Well, we got unlucky, we got lucky. We got lucky in the sense that it arrived at a time of the season whereby it didn't, you know, ruin our harvest overnight. Thankfully, we lost a couple of grapes here and there, nothing dramatic. It's not make or break for the season. We were unlucky in the sense that, you know, it was super localized. There was like a couple of vineyards that got hit by this hail. Everyone else, not a problem. You know, straight after this video, I went to see some friends, you know, less than 5 kilometers away. Nothing at all. Someone across the valley from us, you can actually see their vines from ours. They got nothing either. I spoke to the neighbour, they got a bit as well. We got some. It's one of those things, nothing you can do. You know, just blessed that it didn't arrive at the wrong time of the season and arrived at a time where, you know, we could absorb it and we could just continue on, just a couple of grapes down. Right then, the winery videos. 2 winery videos in the year. First one when we took Laura to see it, and second one when we got the installation of the fermentation tanks. What's my memory of this? I remember a huge amount of stress around this. So bubbling in the background to our journey up until this point was that we hadn't found a winery. Context is that, you know, Bordeaux is usually pretty big surfaces, so way bigger than 3 hectares. Your fermentation tanks are generally in proportion to the amount of hectares that you have, so is your buildings. So we just couldn't find a building that was the right size for us with the right size tanks, anything like that. And it was becoming a problem. Like, this is summer, this is maybe 2 months, 3 months before the harvest. We like literally got all these grapes on the vine, got nowhere to take them, nowhere to turn them into wine. And then this solution came through. I think you can see it on Laura's face. So I'd shown her some pictures and stuff like this. I was there to see it the first time and, you know, kind of described it to her. And I could see the potential, but I probably hadn't quite told her exactly how bad of a state it was really in and how much work it actually needed. So yeah, that's the kind of wider context. I think you can see the look on her face. As we've always said, you know, winemaking is about being super clean, being able to work really effectively. You know, it's food, you can't have any bacteria. This is a garage that hadn't been used basically for, you know, 20 years. It's got some really good things about it. For context, it actually used to be used for vegetable growers. So that's why the cold room is there, because that's where they would store like the fresh vegetables that they'd grown. So it's definitely kind of got that sort of agricultural history and has got the sort of right sort of food kind of design elements that, you know, could work for a winery. But yeah, you really had to look through a lot of dust and grime to see it. Yeah, no, I remember this so well. This was such a moment of relief for me. Just the amount of stress, thought and effort that had gone into finding tanks that were the right size, that would fit, that were in stock, that could be delivered on time, that were of the right quality, that was the right layout, that had the right, you know, accessories and everything. You know, had been a huge headache for me for the weeks previously. It was a massive investment as well. You know, we had this lorry arriving with thousands of euros worth of kit, you know, tons as well to move. We didn't have anything to do it. Luckily, we found this amazing company who sorted us out to come and maneuver everything and to lift it into place to the millimeter. But yeah, and just the excitement of seeing it all in place, and, you know, all of these things now start to be the things that I've chosen, you know, so everything in the vineyard, our choices, we've started to implement those, you know, our way of growing and all that type of stuff. And now in the winery, our choices start to come, and we can really see how we're going to be able to use this to make the wine that we want to make and in the way that we want to make it. So yeah, it's like this crazy emotional day where, you know, all of it just kind of collided, and then at the end of it, to see it all there, standing up, shining, ready to be used, was just like the best feeling ever. Right, then things start coming thick and fast, and if the last video was the arrival of the tanks, it shows you how close to the harvest it was, because almost immediately after, now we're looking at the grapes changing colour, going from green to red. That usually means you're pretty close. You're not too far away. The kind of final stage of ripening is about to happen. But yeah, you know, beautiful scenes. You know, height of summer in the vineyard, lovely light, and those beautiful grapes starting to turn red, and eventually the potential of the wine to come within them. And the big one, the banker, the no-brainer, the harvest, the first vintage. Honestly, what an amazing video. Isn't that just the coolest shot at the start? When we arrived, I think it must have been 6:37 in the morning, arrived before the team were there. We'd had all of this big kind of couple of weeks before, is it ready, is it not ready, is there going to be rain, is there not going to be rain? And then, you know, we pull the trigger, time to go. Everyone arrives at the vineyard, and you just have this stunning, thick fog sitting over, which starts to clear as we're picking the grapes. Honestly, it's like just the coolest video, the coolest shot. So proud of this one. Honestly, looking back at it, it's just such good memories, such good, you know, feeling when you look at that moment. You know, even tasting the grapes there, and, you know, rubbing the skins to see if they're giving their color into the juice. It's, yeah, so much kind of emotion for me, this video. I think something else that, you know, across all of our videos, even ones where they're not necessarily meant to be, like, you get a really good insight into the more technical aspects here. Here you can see, you know, us making wine in reality, and how we make wine. As you can see, it's super simple. Old school is the best. And when I mean old school, I don't mean, you know, 20 years ago. I mean as people used to do it back in the day. Easy, take the stems off the berries, keep them whole, keep it super simple, let the yeast do their thing. Don't do too much. Really simple containers. You know, those plastic containers are actually just quietly magic for making wine in particular red wine. It's super delicate, you know, they don't overheat, anything like that. But yeah, you know, whole berries, destemmed, just light punch downs, ambient yeasts, just basic equipment to monitor things, and just being, you know, loads of care, loads of attention, and just doing things simple. Here's the end of the winemaking. So it takes a couple of weeks. This is a couple of weeks after. This is us actually pressing La Morelle, so the other vineyard, which we harvested a little bit later. But yeah, as I've said, 50% of winemaking is planning, being strategic, you know, knowing what you're doing, knowing where you're going, you know, really thinking about things in depth. And the other 50% is just dealing with problems you never thought would ever exist. This tank, oh my God, at 3 p.m. on a Friday before the weekend starts leaking, was just catastrophic. Like, it was genuinely so bad. If we hadn't been able to get replacements, like, I don't know what we would have done. The wine would have been on the floor, like, over the weekend. We wouldn't have been able to save it, I don't think. I genuinely think it was that bad, or we would have lost, you know, half of it, 3/4 of it. It's literally, it's making my heart go even now. I just remember calling everyone just to see if they had this size tank in stock, and eventually we managed to get one from the original supplier. I think their CEO drove it himself personally from like 2 hours away at 5 p.m. on a Friday to help us out. But yeah, just a manufacturing fault. What can you do? Well, lesson learned is fill the thing up with water next time before you to test it's all working before you put wine in it. I mean, I think we're just a bit complacent because it's steel. But yeah, lesson learned. Yeah, so here's a nice little brief interlude. This is Andrew and Nikki coming from Australia. I think this is the first time we'd really shared the wine with Laura's family, as in literally shared a glass of wine with them. I think my parents and some of my family had tasted it and loved it. We love it, obviously, and it was nice for them to come and for them to try it and for them to enjoy it. So yeah, really kind of nice little moment there in between everything. Yeah, and this is winemaking. Here's the other side of it. Just, you know, receiving deliveries, keeping on top of things, doing analysis, cleaning again, disinfecting, and then again, wiping things down. Yeah, little insight behind the scenes. Not all of it's really glamorous. Two cool things though that shown here. Again, you wouldn't really see much of this from others. The first one is the amphora. So super cool. We're going to get some more of those for next year, so there'll be a lot more wine in the amphoras. It's already tasting really good. I wish you guys could taste it. So yeah, clay amphora to store the wine in, improve the sort of texture and the aromatic. It's a beautiful thing. And then the other thing is needing to just gently heat a couple of the wines to get them to finish what we call the malolactic fermentation, so the bacterial conversion of acids. Which happens at the end of the winemaking process. We didn't have to do it on all of them, but on a couple they just didn't really want to move. It usually happens around 20 degrees C. So using these specially made heaters just to take it exactly to 20 and just let it naturally happen. We didn't want to add bacteria. We just like to let the wine, you know, do it itself, but you know, sometimes it needs a gentle nudge. And then finally, final task of the year. Wine's all done, just maturing nicely in the cellar, all the grapes harvested, all the leaves have fallen. Look at the difference in the vineyard. I mean, where we started to where we are now, and just, again, you know, just that basic kind of tidiness, basic vineyard maintenance and condition. Every year you lose some vines that just die off naturally. So going with the mini digger there, digging them out, creating holes to go and plant new ones back in after. Brilliant. Yeah, this is, you know, great piece of content. Like I said, it's not all glamorous, but all of it makes a difference. And I honestly cannot get over the difference between the condition of it now to where it was 10, 11 months previously. Yeah, it's a super cool way to finish. Amazing. So quick wrap up. We've gone through all of the 2025 videos. We've looked back about you know, what we're doing, what we're feeling, you know, a bit of our insights from it as well. I think going forwards, it's going to be more of the same. Huge amount of effort, blood, sweat and tears, like I said at the start. You know, we love doing this. This is what we want to do. We can see the potential in these vineyards. You know, we're clear that the right direction for us, the right direction for Bordeaux is to make, you know, vineyard-based wines that represent the place where they were grown, that are unique, that have their own identity. And everything that we're doing is to do that, whether that's in the vineyard, trying to grow the best quality, most expressive, most unique grapes that we can, whether it's in the winery, you know, with all of our commitment to kind of low intervention, letting the wine speak for itself, cleanliness, using as many of those sort of historic, old school, ancient, simple, but hard to implement techniques as possible. It's just so foundational. You know, going forwards, huge amount of work. We've spoken a little bit about 2026. As I've said, you're going to be a fly on the wall for all of it. I'm hoping this year quality is going to go up another level as well. You know, we're already working from a much better, much higher baseline than we were last year, as you can see. So yeah, this year is all just about, you know, reacting, making the best of whatever comes, and just putting the same amount of love and attention and effort into it again.